you target people because of the colour of their skin or their faith, then that is far right, and I'm prepared to say so. But it doesn't matter what apparent motivation there is. This is violence, it is not protest. It doesn't matter what the motivation is.
Anti-immigration protests have broken out in several cities across the United Kingdom following the shocking killing of 3 young girls in Southport. UK is seeing its worst riots in 13 years, with rioters breaking into hotel housing asylum seekers, clashing with the police, torching vehicles and indulging in acts of violence. Violent disorder erupted in Liverpool, Bristol, Belfast, cities located in different corners of the UK, with scuffles breaking out and bricks and bottles being thrown as anti-immigration protesters face groups opposed to racism. The anti-immigration sentiment, triggered by misinformation about a mass stabbing incident in which 3 small little girls were killed in Southport earlier this week, has now snowballed into a massive violence across the United Kingdom. Amid escalating violence, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer is holding an emergency Cobra meeting joined by top officials in response to the widespread rioting that has gripped the nation. The meeting comes after Starmer's stern warning to the far-right thugs who are indulging in acts of violence and disorder and looting towns and cities across England, specifically targeting asylum seekers and mosques.
I guarantee you will regret taking part in this disorder, whether directly or those whipping up this action online and then running away themselves. This is not protest. It is organised, violent thuggery. And it has no place on our streets or online.
So what is happening in the United Kingdom? Well, the present unrest involving hundreds of anti-immigration protesters following false information that spread rapidly on social media that the suspect in that fatal stabbing of these children at a dance class in Southport was a radical Muslim migrant. Well, the present unrest involving hundreds of anti-immigration protesters followed false information that had spread rapidly on social media that the suspect who was involved in the fatal stabbing of those young children at a dance class in Southport was a radical Muslim migrant. However, police have said that the suspect, now identified as Axel Rudakubana, who's 17-year-old, was actually born in Britain. Despite what social media accounts had reported earlier, Axel Rudakubana is not an asylum seeker, nor did he recently arrive in Britain by crossing the English Channel as being speculated illegally on a raft. Nor was he a refugee on a watch list. The 17-year-old in fact was born in Cardiff in Wales. His parents are originally from Rwanda and they have been living in Southport for quite some time. The prosecution has said that Rudakubana has been quote-unquote diagnosed with autism and that he had been unwilling to leave the house and communicate with the family for a period of time. His motive for killing those young innocent girls is yet to be ascertained. But despite all this information and the recent revelations on the suspect, protests by anti-immigration and anti-Muslim demonstrators have continued, descending into violence, arson and looting. Though the tragedy is not being treated as a terrorism-related incident, one of the key figures amplifying these calls is Stephen Yaxley Lennon, who is better known as Tommy Robinson. The far-right agitator Tommy Robinson has stirred tensions, rallying against Muslims and undocumented migrants after the recent attack, while suggesting that the government, the police, the media are all allegedly conspiring to hide information from the public. Far-right groups are mobilizing supporters online, using slogans like quote-unquote "enough is enough" and "save our kids." These groups have been exploiting concerns about immigration as well. So who is Tommy Robinson and how is he connected to the UK riots? Campaigners have been warning how Robinson has been inflaming tensions while outside the country. He has been accused of stoking far-right riots following the Southport knife attack. And he's been regularly posting about the ongoing wave of mayhem and chaos on social media. Tommy Robinson has been publishing running commentary and video documenting the riots, describing the disorder as a result of quote-unquote legitimate concerns and calling for mass deportations. A long-time far-right agitator and former leader of the English Defence League, or the EDL, Robinson has been accused of playing an important role in inciting the recent violence directed at ethnic minority groups. He also has quite a notorious past and has a history of legal troubles, including convictions of assault, contempt of court, and fraud. He has also been continuing to influence far-right activism and instigate tensions through social media, despite being banned from social media in 2018. However, then, his reach has grown since X account was reinstated last year. Tommy Robinson's last two demos in London attracted tens of thousands of people, and his X following is now over 800,000 people, which means that he's once again boasting of an enormous reach online. After the recent horrific knife attack, Robinson has been regularly tweeting, calling Islam quote-unquote a mental health issue, sharing videos of disorder and encouraging people to join the ongoing protests and demonstrations. The tragic deaths of these three young children has also exposed United Kingdom's deep-rooted Islamophobia problem. Anti-Muslim sentiment has been simmering under the surface of British society for quite some time. There has been a recent uptick in Islamophobic incidents and rhetoric in recent years. According to the Home Office data, race and religious hate crimes are quite high, with Muslims being most targeted religious groups. In fact, a report published in 2023 reveals that Islamophobic incidents doubled across Britain between the year 2012 and 2022, citing reasons such as increased far-right activity, global anti-Muslim attacks, political discourse, and the Brexit referendum campaign. What makes it more complicated is the new Labour government strategy for tackling Islamophobia, which also remains unclear. Keir Starmer has been criticised for failing to engage enough with the Muslim communities in the wake of the recent unrest. Anti-Muslim and anti-Semitic attacks have surged in the UK following the Israel-Gaza conflict. So there is no single agreed definition of rising anti-Muslim hatred, but the Labour Party had previously signalled its support for one. Left-wing Labour MPs, Muslim groups have been urging the Prime Minister to take a strong stance on Islamophobia following the recent violent riots. In fact, sections of the media have also been accused of peddling Islamophobia and risking the safety of Muslims around the country in the process. But opposition backbenchers have warned that any new legislation would only serve to stifle criticism of religion and freedom of expression. Well, clearly, the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, is facing his first major test since his election a month ago in bringing normalcy to the region while cracking down on hoodlums and rioters. UK police are taking all measures necessary to deal with the existing crisis in areas including Greater Manchester, Liverpool and Southport. But the larger question remains that even if the situation is contained on the ground and brought under control, how will the UK government tackle rising incidents of crime, Islamophobia and extremism, and then check the political discourse that has also played a part to fuel anti-Muslim sentiments?